Hi, this is Elijah Greer for the digital observation video. I did all my observations at the Kingsburg Joint Union High School in Kingsburg, California. The school has a donut shop and a park across the street as well as a neighborhood. The neighborhood's houses are well kept and the streets are clean. On campus there was trash and some green waste, not large amounts but it's always present in some amount. The classroom I was in almost always had dead grass and would look like pieces of food. The classes were apparently only cleaned at most once a week. Over the course of the observation, multiple times I saw the teacher change her lesson over the course of the day, using the reactions from the class and her own preferences. During the 10th week of observation, the teacher showed videos of both capitalist and communist propaganda from the Cold War era. After the videos, she would ask questions, but throughout the day, the question would change from the one she had previously asked. Based on the previous classes' actions and responses to the questions, it shows that teachers adapt their lessons during the same day based almost solely on how the students react to things. Moving on to analysis and conclusion, seeing the instruction change during the day was pretty eye-opening. As a student, one doesn't consider how much a lesson changes over the years, even less how much a lesson changes in one day. A good lesson is adapted to better reflect the students and their reactions. In the 4th week of observation, the teacher altered her lesson when students from her first class didn't respond much to the question, so she altered the next class into questions for debate. For visual enhancement, the use of images and text to help students retain information used in the boards as on the left with the newspaper clippings, and on the right with the project students did for various projects. The criterions reference testing uses numerous quizzes that were done on Kahoots. It's all based on the mastery of the subject, but it's not graded. It's used more for forming the next lesson, focusing on what students didn't do so well in this game. The student collaboration facilitated by technology is when students worked on finding sources for their immigration debate. They independently found sources, but as a class would compile the list of sources that they all thought were applicable, creating a web-based list for their project that was a synthesis of everyone's work. Moving on to conclusion and reflection. What expectations are students holding for student achievement and or behavior, why and how? Both online and posted on the walls of expectations of how students should act. Online, there's a much longer list of student behavior expectations and what students should expect from the high school experience. It's on their website. It goes through freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, what they should look for in that year of high school, and then what is expected of them. What's posted on the wall in class is a general guideline for behavior. It's the image on the right. The Kingsburg way, it's focusing more on character aspects. What are students being told about U.S. culture and identity and their place in society? It's more focused on the immigrant experience. Both immigration research assignment and the posters on the wall confirm that students of non-USA origins are to be welcomed in society and are contributing members of the nation who deserve to be full citizens. Describe the learning environment of the school as you observed it. Students are provided with expectations for what they should generally get out of all classes, with matrices like the one on the right, focusing more on what you're learning and how. Students seem to be involved in lessons but don't normally volunteer extra information and only participate in class discussions after the teacher mandated participation. Students turned in work on time when I was observing the class, and if they didn't, they had time to do so later. What did you see schools doing to support and encourage student achievement? The teacher spent the majority of her time emphasizing the importance of student success, but didn't put undue stress on her students. The teacher only encouraged them to perform to the best of their abilities. The teacher allowed students to work during breaks and lunches to complete and or make up assignments, or even missing absences. The school also has a college and career center that supports the seniors in their goals for either furthering their education or for employment. The multicultural education, it's do the teaching, texts, and activities include the cultures of all students in some way? The discussion about immigrants and the rights migrant workers have included those individuals in class who had ties to that population, but there were very few activities that discussed or included any other minority groups. Granted, there were no other minority groups present in class, but it was not mentioned. Are students free to express different ideas, ask questions of teachers, or contribute to a class from their own perspectives? The teacher stated multiple times that students were free to share their own opinions, but the material covered could have led some students to be unwilling to share their personal beliefs due to an idea of a conflict. The top image on the right is from a Cold War era communist propaganda video that was shown during the class when communism was being covered as an economic principle. The bottom right is an image about the rankings in private school systems. The teacher told me afterwards that students in their classes were believed that the free market works in their favor and was doing her best to point out the flaws in the America's economic system. Students in her classes didn't respond during these lectures freely. Only a few students shared their economic priorities when they were asked to. perhaps as a result of being shown a relatively negative view of their own beliefs. Moving on, much of what I observed was to be expected from the lack of diversity in assessment in day-to-day class from the very teacher-centered classroom. Effort required to diversify assessment made it so that the teacher didn't use it in the classroom. What was unexpected was when I actually started paying attention to the instruction was that there is a diversity in instruction, if only like a bare minimum. The inclusion of group work helps with interpersonal intelligence. The computer work emphasizes more of the verbal linguistic, and which is also used during the teacher's lecture. The surprise stems more from a lack of knowledge about the differentiated teaching and like multiple intelligences, more than seeing that concept actually being applied. From the classroom, I observed there wasn't much inclusion of minorities in the classroom, though small concessions and topics were brought up from the current world discussions, such as like immigration policies and stuff like that. And that concludes the video. Thank you for watching.